Hello, everyone. Welcome to my first live oracle reading on Facebook. So I'm excited to be here, and um, I have some collective questions, but please feel free if you join to ask any specific questions in the chat, and I will respond. So I think the first question that we're going to do is, what patterns are holding the collective back from true transformation, and how do we break free of them? Right. So we got 4 cards. All right. So the answers that came through seem to be even more about how to break free from um, like this collective energy that is holding us back. And we all know, excuse my voice, we all know that there's a lot happening in the collective right now. Here in the United States, we've had the hurricane came through and did a lot of damage in North Carolina, which is, the state I'm from. And so there's this energy, and it feels almost primal to me. Um, and it's like there's both this energy of us like rising in vibration and frequency, but this base energy that's also wanting to bring us back down. So like the cards that came through were she who flows. So, and I think that's going to be really important as we move through these next um, few months, and probably even through the next few years, um, and longer, is really allowing ourselves to be in the flow. um, Kind of taking everything as it comes up and responding to everything, really sitting with things, and um, what do I need to be aware of? What do I need to go? What's the right thing? And oh, I think I'm going, here, but something happens, and just like instead of being so, I'm supposed to be here, allowing ourselves to flow and shift into um, where we're being guided to go. Um, and then, this card is about metamorphosis, which again is embracing the change, embracing that state of becoming. And I think we're going to find, like, especially through the end of this year and into next year, we're going to be like finding ourselves in this constant state of change, and allowing that metamorphosis to happen, to move us from this energy to that energy to this energy, and allowing us to receive whatever information is coming to us, embracing it, and making it a part of who you are. And then how does like all this information want to express through you, and who do you need to be to truly bring that through? So those who are on this path of self-discovery, on this path of being a spiritual healer and leader, like really allowing yourself to be in that flow and to constantly change and shift and grow without feeling like you're collapsing or that something isn't right, but going with that flow, going where you're guided to go, you know, being who you need to be in that moment, and just shift, flow, change. And then, this card is heed your wisdom. Um, so again, I believe that all of us have this really deep, innate knowing. We know what is true. We know what is right. And a lot of times, through modern technology, through um, programming from childhood and stuff, we may um, ignore our inner knowing and listen to somebody else or listen to whoever or whatever. But it's taking somebody else's wisdom over our own, and this goes even for teachers, and even like wonderful gifted teachers, like if they're trying to override your own inner knowing, to really stop and say, okay, you know, is my knowing correct? And okay, yes, it is. And so I'm going to put, what this person said over here and, thank them and kind of move on, but follow my guidance. And then there might be times where it's like, we have a knowing, but the information that somebody else gives us um, enhances what we know, or shifts what we know. And we can say, okay, like, this piece of what they're saying is true and, gets to be added to my knowing. And allowing that, again, like being in that flow and transformation or metamorphosis, um, and allowing ourselves to grow and expand, shift and change, while never forgetting our own inner wisdom. And then I think this card is the most important, to get us through, what's going to be coming over the next, few months and few years, is claiming your sovereignty. I think that's the most important thing, because once we, claim our own sovereignty of, that nobody else has authority over me. So, from an energetic perspective, they don't have the authority to come into your fields, to come in your astral plane or anything. They don't have the right, and you have to claim sovereignty and claim ownership and claim authority over yourself and push that energy out. And so as a collective, we're having to do that when it comes to corrupt governments. And I don't care where you are in the world, there's very few, if any, government that isn't corrupt at this point. So, we have to reclaim our sovereignty back from them, and be the authority, the living embodiment of the authority, the truth, God, whatever you want to call it. But like, you do not have that right over me. And so really claiming and owning that. So I hope those cards help with that. All right, so the next question I'm going to ask the cards is, what practical steps should the collective take now to support their healing and growth journey? A card wanted to come out. Okay, so this is doors are opening. You decide, rewards, wild card. So when it comes to supporting our healing and growth, I mean, first of all, we've got to walk through that doorway. We have to choose our healing and our growth over everything else. Um, and really think about like every door that we're going through is an initiation. There is that I'm going to see this through to the end, to the the full exploration of who I'm going to be through this journey, through this healing. Um, and I think like it's really easy to get caught up in that energy of, my life sucks right now. I really hate this. Things aren't good. Um, and you stay trapped in that energy. And I know like when I went through my own healing journey and, it wasn't until like my sister kind of pointed out, like how negative I was being, that kind of like snapped me out of like the energy that I was in, and helped me to decide that like this wasn't what I wanted my life to be. And it started me on that healing journey of like getting the help that I needed. And then even that in itself was a journey through various healers that um actually didn't help me until I found the people and the things that really did help me. And along that way, choosing things like, gratitude practices and journaling and, reading and exploring and expanding. And it was, I had to make that choice. Nobody else could make that for me. Like, again, somebody like my sister, you know, they can help snap you out of it. So, good teachers and coaches and healers can help you like kind of see something, but then you walk through that door and you do the work that is necessary. And then, have, get help where you need it, or, even like that coach to help you, stay focused and to, keep taking action so that when it does get hard and you're in the throes of that initiation, you have somebody who's there, like helping you, um, encouraging you to move forward. Um, and it's a wild card because you don't always know, what's on the other end. So there were times where certain healings that I chose, actually they didn't necessarily, they made things worse in the sense that it took me to a deeper level, and it exploded and unlocked a lot of things that I then had to work through. And so like sometimes you don't know, if I choose this path, like what's going to happen. And you might think at first of like, oh my God, why did I choose that? Um, things are worse right now. But sometimes, and again, even collectively on this planet, like things seem to be getting worse, but we have to go through it. We have to experience it all. We have to like figure out like, what do I need to heal within me? What's coming up? What is my wound right now that needs to be healed? And go through that, go through the unpacking it and clearing it out of the body so that you can fully step into who you are at the end of that journey. And that's like you've got to get to the end. It's not just walking through the door. Because you can walk through the door and stand like right at the threshold and then turn back and not ever go through. Um, but again, it's your decision. It's what where are you right now, and where do you want to be, and what door do you have to walk through that's going to get you there. Um, so All right. All right. So, how can we awaken our inner warrior to overcome fears and step into our full potential? And I think, again, this is a question that is so important right now with everything that is happening in the collective. There's a lot of things that are trying to drive our fears to the maximum, because we have to remember that the dark forces, they feed off of our fear and they use our fear to create their agenda, their vision. But if we can like step out of that fear, and that's not to say that we won't have our moments of like, oh my god, like, it can't get any worse. But then we've got to balance ourselves, we got to ground ourselves, and say, okay, now what do I really want? How do I let this go? So, I'm not always the best shuffler. All right. So the cards that came through, um, the Kalalich, Elder, Teacher, Wise One, Experience. So the Cycle Breaker, you'll get through it. Then take your place and radiate true color. So when we think about awakening our inner warrior and kind of moving through and overcoming the fears, it is the wisdom, the wise ones, so looking to our teachers, our coaches, the people who have been maybe doing the work longer than we have. And what wisdom do they have? What wisdom is inside of me? What wisdom is in Mother Earth? What wisdom is there in God? And you might find wisdom in religious texts. You might find it through a meditation with God, whatever it is. But there is a wisdom. And, I believe that we've been through these cycles many times. Every few, like 2,500 to 5,000 years, we go through these cycles, whether it's the poles shifting, whether it's, the planet Nibiru coming closer to our cycle, and creating this chaos and conflict, as the moons and the earths and the suns are vying for this shift, this pull of energy, finding the wisdom, looking at the text. There's so much information out there. Um, And so how do I get through it? How did our grandparents and great grandparents and stuff get through the depression, get through um, things like the Dust Bowl and things like that, where there were traumatic stuff. How do people get through war in their countries? Like, how do the people who have been through this before, how did they get through it, and what wisdom can I glean? How can even just knowing that somebody else has been through worse, excuse me, and still hold on to love and joy. And that's how we learn to overcome the fear. And then the cycle breakers, we are here to break this cycle. um it's not to say in another 5,000 years we may be back here doing something similar again, but if we can break the cycles that we've been in, and we can break the trauma and the war and the strife, and again holding on to the energy of love, we're going to break the cycles that keep repeating. And as we break the cycles, even just within our own hearts, our own minds, within our bodies, we feel lighter, we feel capable, and we feel empowered to do more. And I those of you who are new to myself, and those of you who have been with me for a while, um, I strongly believe that it is so important to do the healing. And it doesn't matter whether you're open to spiritual stuff, we've all been through stuff. And it's so important to find, a therapist, a coach, a healer that can help us unpack what is stuck in us so that we can move forward and, um, you know, help the next generation in ways that we weren't able to receive from our parents and grandparents and stuff, and really start to change that, to break that old cycle and narrative. And so, like, taking your place. um, you know it's I was talking to a friend earlier today about being able to take up space, and when we've been traumatized, when we're in a fear response, we shut down and we pull into ourselves, um, and literally shut ourselves off, um, which then feeds the fear even more. I was telling her about an old yoga instructor that I had that talked about, like, this area being a light switch, and lights on and lights off. And if you see people walking around with this caved in chest area where they're trying to protect their hearts, there's a deadness in them, and this they've given over to the fear. So, like, opening up, even if it's scary, even if you're afraid to, like, hold that space, find those moments, find those places where you do feel safe, and start to hold it, start to take your place in the world. And I also believe, like, we all have a purpose and a mission, and it's not to say that it's some you know far out big thing. It can be as simple as, like, you're meant to be an incredible mom or an incredible teacher. Like, that's your purpose and your mission. That's what you were created for. And we have to take our place at that. We have to, you know, step into who we were always meant to be, and take that place in the world. Like, I truly believe that we are an individuated expression of God, of source, whatever you want to call it, or even we're an aspect of um, an archetype, but we're here to hold an energy, and we can hold it in the shadow or we can hold it in, you know, its highest expression. And I think that's like when we step into that higher expression, when we walk through that door, we're choosing to take that place in the world. We're choosing to be sovereign, to be the true leaders of this world, not what we currently have, not, what wants to destroy us, but we are here to change the world, to be every single one of us, to be part of it. And to do that, we have to radiate our true colors. We have to radiate who we are, that full expression of ourselves, and not be afraid. And yes, there are things that are scary. But as we find the other people, as we find the other healers, the other coaches, the other um, leaders, that the spiritual leaders, the humble and beautiful leaders of the world, like, we come together and we share knowledge and we share experiences and we heal and we grow and we expand, and all of a sudden the world is a different place because we're choosing something. We're choosing ourselves. We're choosing to be that expression and embodiment of love. So, anyway, that was a bit preachy, but that's how I felt. So, um, hopefully, those words will speak to you. All right. So, the next question is going to be, what emotional wounds need to be acknowledged within the collective? All right, so the taking your place came up again, and I think that's probably one of the biggest collective wounds. Like, when I talk about leadership with people, because to me, um, self leadership is such an important thing. Um, but again, if you are shrinking away, if you're collapsing on yourself and not truly taking your place in the world, because you don't feel worthy, you don't feel deserving, maybe you don't know what you want, like, all those things are part of our emotional wounding. It's how we're relating to other people. um, and again, if we're all interacting from our shadows and our wounds, um, you know, we're missing those opportunities to take our place in the world, to have like true intimate connections with people, and intimate not in a sexual way, but in a heart to heart way of like, I see you, I see who you are. Um, and so, like, we're desperate to be seen. We're desperate to, like, if somebody sees me, I can take my place in the world. And then when we're not seen, again, we pull back and you know either believe like there's something that needs to be healed in me to be worthy of being seen, or we um, go through this pattern of like constant healing. And I see it so often with people, um, and not that we don't have a lot of healing to do, but it's like this constant like hamster wheel of healing, to the point where it's like they don't actually allow themselves to heal. They do the work and then, oh, there's something still wrong. Oh, there's something still wrong. Oh, there's something still wrong. And it's like sometimes, we've got to heal and we've got to take our place. We've got to be in that metamorphosis of I've healed, and now who am I becoming? Who am I, you know, as I hold this shift, as I hold this healing, and how do I relate to others now in this new space? Where is it still feeling uncomfortable, and how do I expand into it? And then, the metamorphosis happens, and we take up that place, we take up space in this new way of being. And then, we can say, okay, oh, I'm still being triggered here, or like, oh, there's a deeper layer here, or I'm holding the energy here in my body, I'm feeling this. And, then we go through the next layer and the next level of healing. And we find like the next teacher or the next thing, or we're able to connect deeper and receive the wisdom from our body. And so allowing ourselves to heal and take up space, and to heal and take up space until the next thing we know, we're pretty damn close to being whole. And again, we could still be whole and still have things that need to heal, but like, we can feel like I take up space. It's okay for me to take up space, to be here, to be in this moment, and to, be who I'm meant to be, and give my energy and my heart and my soul and my love, to changing things on this planet, in this world. And so, lifting the veil, that's the other big emotional wound that, you know, we all talk about, of like, that fear of being seen. When we're going through the veil, we're going to see things that are going to, shock us, that are going to be so different from this, 3D matrix world that we see. We've got the witch wound, the feminine wound, the masculine wound, which is all about being afraid to be seen. This We are wanting to be seen, but at the same time, we're afraid to be seen, because when we're seen, we're going to be attacked, whether it's through really harsh, horrible comments, you know, in our posts, or whether, it's being attacked by, something else. Um, if we speak our truth, it's going to upset people. And so we have this emotional wound, and it's this like weird dynamic of, I want to be seen. No, I don't. I want to be seen. No, 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 no. And that it's such an emotional wound, and it's that roller coaster and that feeling of being unsafe. And the more we step through the veil, and the more we see what's there, and the more we search for truth, like real truth, not, you know, not what some governmental entity wants us to believe as truth, but truth, undeniable truth. And I don't always think that, that undeniable truth is going to have um, validative proof, of being true, but we know what's right. We know what's true. And, not being afraid to be seen in that, to share it, to express it, to help others. Because the more that we speak up and speak out and speak our truth and say the things that sometimes go against the collective, as soon as one person says this, then there's somebody else. Oh yeah, I believe that too, or I've experienced that, or I think that, and then the next person, and the more we're brave enough to take up space, to walk through the veil and see the truth, the more others are going to do the same. And it's that the tipping point. Like once enough of us, have gone over that edge and down the rabbit hole, the more the rest of the collective comes. And we see that like with what's happening with P. Diddy and then Epstein and all this really dark stuff. You know, I know from like as a kid, I knew things weren't right in Hollywood. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew like there was stuff that didn't seem right, and then the Corys started talking about what was happening, and they were made to appear crazy, and that they were on drugs and all this stuff. But they were the first people to really speak out against it. And then, more people slowly over the years started speaking up and speaking out against it, about what was happening and sharing their story. And women, sharing their stories about what's happened to them, and men sharing their stories about what's happened to them. And the more we share and the more that we express and the more that we speak our truth, the more that the darkness has less of a hold and control over us. So anyway, I hope that helps you with like the that next layer of emotional healing to do. um I hope that this video, this card pull, kind of gives you some insight. If you really enjoy this, please like the like my like the video. Um, you know, Subscribe to my channel. Share this with others. Feel free to ask questions. I'm going to try and do these a little bit more frequently. I have a Facebook group where I do more things. I try and do live card pulls and things like that throughout the week. But please like, please share, please expand, share your thoughts, and let's grow collectively together. So thank you.